5:30 p.m., the regular meeting of the Fargo Board of Education, Tuesday, April 24th. Thanks, everyone, for coming. I would like to entertain a motion for approval of the agenda, please. John?
President Knutson, I would like to amend the agenda to move the item number 8, executive session, to follow staff reports.
Okay, there's been a motion to move 8, executive session to follow staff reports. Is there a second for that?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
All right, approved. Thank you. We will do that. We will move 8 to right after staff reports then. Moving on to recognition of audience.
I'd like to move adoption of this modified agenda.
I was just so excited to get moving. Okay, there's been a motion. There's a second as well, Dinah? Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, now we can move on to our audience members. A couple individuals have signed up to address this evening, and so I want to welcome Nicole and Kristen here, and I will read this information for you so that you're familiar with how long you're able to visit with us this evening. At this time, the board will hear comments from the public. We ask that each speaker who has signed up to address the board state their name and address for the record. We would also ask that speakers refrain from using this forum to criticize or complain about a specific employee by name. The board is interested in your comments and will listen carefully, but is not obligated to respond or debate issues in this forum. Should you desire a written response to a specific question, you may request it. This evening, each speaker will be allotted a maximum of 4 minutes. And Nicole Watkins, please. Welcome.
Everybody, my name is Nicole Watkins. What else did you need besides my name?
If you would like to share your address.
Yep, absolutely. I 6196 Martins Way in Fargo. I have several children in Fargo Public Schools, 2 that are on the spectrum and 1 that has a 504 for ADD. My phone has been ringing off the hook today. I would like to comment on the proposal to help fund this separate setting at Agassiz for the kids that are 5th grade and under. A lot of parents, and myself included, are really viewing this as another secluded setting similar to the Autism Academy. I know that there's been some research on both sides of this, and that there has been, some additional trainings for our, Fargo Public School staff, and some teams are doing a really excellent job. But there is also a lot of research in states that show that the opposite effect is happening. The new research out of the National Institute for Health and UCLA Center for Autism actually showed that peer training and more training for the paras and using outside sources to come in and help with that training, professionals coming in to train those teachers and those paras are far outweighing one-on-one social skills and behavioral interventions. So a lot of the lists of concerns that I have heard from parents today is how better this money could be spent on training, more in-depth training besides just CPI training and holds, more para support, more outside services coming in to help. There are kids that are working with agencies like Solutions in Ann Carlson, but those key players are not at the table. We already know that research shows there's a high rate of recidivism when people are isolated, whether that's residential placement, school, prison, and consider the social consequences for some of these kids with behavioral issues. Least restrictive environment does mean choice, and a lot of parents already feel that their hand is forced in some respects and that their home schools don't have the supports to support their students, so they're having to choose these other alternate placements. If outside resources continue to be frowned upon and not, necessarily part of a collaboration allowed in schools, a lot of families feel that there is really that reluctance and, might this placement be further stigmatizing our children? We have very limited staff. We have one person, Allie from Changing Behaviors in Fargo Public Schools, that has a huge caseload. I've seen copy and pasted names in IEPs. I've seen a lot of very vague, broad-reaching goals in the IEPs, and teams are really struggling to write appropriate behavior plans, to write really well-thought-out goals, to have the outcomes really well-designed. We have very well-done Department of Public Instruction autism guidelines in our state, and a lot of parents, and myself included, do not feel that those are being utilized as well as they could be and should be. There's, information in there per how those FBAs and behavior intervention plans are supposed to go, and that I feel that that's not happening. That did not happen for my children. I know that there's best of intention with discrete skills training that happens, but why can't we support these students in their mainstream schools, and why can't we have that funding be spent on better supporting them where they're at instead of another alternate placement? My son got push-in services rather than pull-out services, and he did far better, socially, tremendously better when he got to middle school, and we focused on those push-in services rather than the pull-out services. So that's all I have. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Nicole. Kristen Shabano? Thank you, Kristen.
My name is Kristen Charbonneau. My address is 2419 9th Street, South Fargo. And first of all, I would just like to say that I really appreciate that this problem with the kids that are being assaulted in the schools is being addressed. But I do have great concerns about them being moved into, I guess I look at it as segregation, and that's very concerning to me as a mom of a son who is probably one of those children that you're talking about. Him being in his homeschool gives him a lot more opportunities than he would have if he was secluded in a different building. And an example of that would be that the PTA put on a talent show last week, and it was his idea to do the talent of math problems. And the principal got up there, and he's in 3rd grade, and he was doing exponents and to the 3rd power and these things, and he wouldn't have those interactions. And he is only in the mainstream classroom probably 30% of the time. So I just think it's really important to look at all of the factors in this, and there is lots of research saying that segregation is not a good idea, and I just hope that you take a look at that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, we're moving on to staff reports. The FEA report. Hello, Laura.
Hello. 2 things really quickly. First of all, we finished our election for new executive board members, so something to look forward to next year. You're going to meet about half new people with some retirements and stuff like that. I know. I could probably let you know who they are earlier, too, if you can't wait till next year. Also, last week, we had our retirement social, and John and then David showed up, and thank you. We appreciated having you there, especially because you're kind of a STEM guy. John is. He could probably tell you, he added up the numbers of all the years of experience up on the stage. Not because he's a geek, but because I asked him to. Thank you. Anyway, it was a lot of years. He'd probably tell you how many. So that's that.
Thank you, Laura. John, how many years did you add up?
I believe it was 538.
Nice. All right, moving on to the technology associated with parent engagement portion of the staff reports. Bill Westrick and Stephen Duro, thank you.
Hello, am I on? Hello, my name is Stephen Duro. I taught math at South High for 17 years. In the last 10 years, I've been working at the district office here, and I'm the director of data analysis. But tonight, we're going to talk about parent engagement, and I'm going to focus totally on homework and that how parents is involved with an individual, a student's homework. So, do you have any homework? I have 2 children in the system, and it's been a wonderful experience for me as a parent, so thank you. But I've been asking that question almost every night now for 15 years. Do you have any homework? When I was teaching, I didn't use the word homework. I used the word practice because I really feel like it's punitive. Sometimes homework doesn't have the best connotations. Practice, you practice basketball, you practice football, you practice skating. You practice your math homework as well, right? So that's what we are looking at, is how can we help more people be able to help the student, the better chances they are of being successful. So I thought how I would do it is talk about how when I first started, the technologies we had and how it was done, and then talk about what we have today. And I'm going to have to jump all over because I tried to cut this down so it wouldn't be as long. All right, so I'm not going to go down, this isn't going down memory lane. This is just stating the facts, giving you a context of what it was like when I first started teaching at South High. At home, I felt like I was on the cutting edge with my 56K modem. And it was a dial-up, and I had to wait till 10 o'clock at night because I held up the line otherwise. So the internet really isn't what it is today. And on the right side, at the time at South High, the math and social studies departments, we had the same office space. So there's about 15, 20 of us. And this was the one phone that we shared for those 15, 20 people. So when you talk about the communication with parents, you know, it's added variable if you've got 20-some people trying to use that one phone, and it had its challenges. So that's what we have at that time. So if we go back to the question of, do you have any homework? As a parent, how do you know when the son or daughter looks at you and says, yeah, I got it done. Now I'm gonna go play video games or go watch TV. How can I help you if I don't even know what it is? So what we did prior to the internet is we would, at some point, we would end up with a piece of paper that the student write down the assignment. I, as the teacher, would sign off. Then they would go home to this parent, and then the parent was supposed to sign off that the child brought this homework home. And that's what we did, that's what we had. So the tools that we had at the time, that's what we did. There was fraught with opportunity to work around that, though, right? I had 15, 20 kids doing that, so I was all over the place, mom and dad, busy lives, and the student likes to stay under the wire if they wanted to. They could get away with it. But that's how we did it. At that same time, I fell in love with the internet, and I also fell in love with databases. I'm a big fan, to this day, I'm a big fan of databases, and I've spent my whole career doing that, actually. So this is a piece of paper that I've been walking around with since 1996. And this right here is the beginning of what we now call the daily planner. And so what I did is I thought, is there a better way for my students to be able to see the assignments? And so we worked on this, and I was able to get this with the help of a student. I still remember how excited she was and I was. We were pumped, we got this on there, and we put it up there so my students could go and see their assignments online. No one used it. They didn't use it for the simple fact that, first of all, they had to find a computer. Not everybody had a computer at home, and if you had a computer at home, it wasn't connected to the internet. So you ended up having to find a computer, then you had to type in that long URL to find it, and then there it was. You could do that, or you could turn to the side and look what I put on the wall in the classroom and just copy it down. So it was not used, but the idea was there. So we spent the next several years me playing with that. The internet got more robust, and it got stronger and stronger. Then I believe like it was in 2004, 2005, at a conversation with, at that time, Mr. Birch, now Dr. Birch, about how I was doing this with my class. And to his credit, he saw the potential of this as being a way for us to be able to communicate with teachers, students, and parents. So he asked if I could build it in such a way that all staff members at South High could put their data in there, and then we would work on it. So I said yes, and then this is the current version. We've had several iterations over the years, but this is the latest version that we're using right now. So what was happened is we forced, and the word is forced, all teachers to put their assignments in on the right side there. For this to work the way we wanted to, we wanted everybody to put all their assignments in the same place. So if you want to think, it's the same database, but if you want to think about it as a spreadsheet or even a bucket, everybody puts their assignments all in the same spot. And by doing that, we have a lot of leverage of how we can use that data once it's in there. So for example, it was 2006, semester one, all the South High teachers had to do this. I wasn't the best friend to a lot of people. And then at semester time, North High jumped on, and they gave it a try. And then the following year, keep in mind, Davies did not exist. In the following year, both high schools and both middle schools used it, and we've been using it since then. So we started using it today. So that's where it's at. But the key to the whole thing is the tools that we have, and then the fact that we put the data all in one spot. Because by doing that, here's a snapshot of what you see as a parent or as a student in PowerSchool. Now, one of the strengths of PowerSchool is it allows districts to customize within the district. So most parents, I'm guessing, think that Daily Planner is actually part of PowerSchool. Because if you look at the top there, the first one, when you first log in, those are my kids. When you first log in, you see the grades and attendance, and then the button right below it is the Daily Planner, and that's what you see. So for the ease, think about that now. I don't have to go to several different places. Because we forced everybody to put the data in the same spot, when Alex logs in, or mom or dad, we go over here to grab all the teachers that have that child and bring it to the screen. So this really would scroll down, and you would see all 8 teachers with all their assignments for the whole week, which becomes very powerful. So now we go back to that question of, do you have any homework? Well, now we've got the parent on our side, right? Because now, do you have any homework? Now, this probably doesn't always happen, but we have the opportunity for this to happen. Emily, do you have any homework? No, I don't. I look it up. Oh, you're right. You don't have any homework. But I notice that you have a paper due on Friday. And here's an opportunity for the parent to help, right, with that practice of getting better at not waiting till Thursday at 11 o'clock at night to start doing the paper. You got a paper on Friday. How about you chunk it out a little bit and you try it? But anyway, that opportunity now exists because of the tools that we have in place. So that's a real huge strength for parent involvement in a positive way, in my opinion. So that's for the piece for tonight. I wanted to add one little thing at the end here that we gain as well, and that is through our teachers. Teachers are the people that do the work to make this happen. They are the creators. They put it in there. And we have not updated this interface in like 8, 9 years, and we're still using it, and it's because everybody gets something out of it. Here's what the teachers get out of it, and then us in return, is let's say I'm a first-year teacher. I've never taught before, and I have English 1. So I am brand new. I just got a contract. I am pumped. I'm happy to have a job. What do I do? What's my pacing guide? We have the documents here, but what am I going to do day to day? Or I've been teaching geometry for 6 years, and now this is the first year I'm teaching Algebra 2. So it's a brand new prep for me. So what I can do is, I'm an Algebra 2 teacher. If you see those little, up in the top right, there's a little picture of some people. If you click that, what you get is, because we force everybody to put it in the same spot, the system can go out and find everybody in the school district, all 3 high schools, bring back their lesson plans for that day. So at 5 in the morning, I can find out what my colleagues are doing. Or 11 o'clock at night, I can find out what my colleagues are doing. So now, talk about a head start of what do I do with this new prep that I have. I can follow this guide. Last thing, let's say it's you're in quarter 1, week 3. And you're looking at this and go, I wonder where I need to get to by the end of the quarter or by the end of the semester. And you look at it and you go, well, I don't know, my colleagues haven't filled it out yet. What you can do is there's a drop down. And because, again, and I know I'm being redundant, but this is the key, we put it all in the same place. We have every teacher's lesson plan since 2006 in a database. Now, obviously, 2006 probably isn't much value anymore, I hope. but if you go back, you can go back to the year before, and it brings back all the teachers that taught Algebra 2 last year, and it brings them back for the whole year. So now I have an opportunity to go to the end of quarter 1 and say, okay, where did they get? And in general, where did they get at the end of the semester, end of 3rd quarter, and end of 4th quarter? So I find that to be really powerful. And so how we all gain, in my opinion, my last line here, is I feel that the teacher has to spend less time on what to teach and more time on how to teach it, which in turn hopefully gives the student more opportunity to be successful. So, okay. So.
Oh, that's perfect. This is a good transition right here. I don't know if you guys ever had to deal with these kind of days, but if you look down at the little red circle, that's a piece of paper you're supposed to sign and send back tomorrow. So Stephen talked about middle school and high school, so let's wrap it up real quick with a quick discussion of elementary. This is purposefully hard to read. The point is, there is a group nationally of K-12 educators that all go to jessicameacham.com, and they keep track of all of the major parent engagement apps at any grade level. I'm using this a lot to evaluate and think about elementary school. You will see on the left side, Seesaw is very well represented with lots of answers to lots of the little individual items. It is a very full-featured program, which is why it's the program that we use in the elementary schools. So, the graphic is just showing you kind of a snapshot of what the Seesaw program looks like. You have actually seen 2 different presentations in the last year and a half, I believe, so we're not going to dwell on Seesaw, but I'll give you some stats. 263 teachers have started at least going through a training session with Seesaw. We have almost 30,000 learning artifacts from students and teachers. We have had 74,561 interactions with parents. This summer at Tech Camp, there are 5 sessions for elementary teachers to learn more about Seesaw. This is one of those programs where it is great because we don't have to sell it. It sells itself, and the growth is continuing year over year. So it has been a terrific app for us. It has been free. Big fan of that. Parents can get a text, email, app notification if they choose to download an app, which they don't have to do. They can check those interactions on whatever device they use. Students can choose to post something, teachers can choose to post something, and it does give you that just-in-time, look at this great thing that happened on this day, and gives the parents something to say, hey, Johnny, great job today, loved seeing that, hope to see more. So that's the general wrap-up. I'm glad that Stephen got to do the bulk on the Daily Planner because I wanted to make sure that you guys knew it was homegrown right there. So do you have any questions for either of us?
How is this communicated to our parents? How do they know that these tools exist?
That is a great question on Daily Planner. We do a fairly good job of making sure that everybody understands how the online registration process works. Very purposefully tied that to PowerSchool so that they had to log in. If you interact with your students at all, your children, you will see them going on to this thing that shows them their homework and they're looking at their grades all the time. That is the Daily Planner. I don't know that we've done a whole lot on that.
It's common practice in the sixth grade for the teams. That's one of the, I know that for a fact because I've provided the slides for them because that is a good question of that first initial into middle school. They talk about PowerSchool and they also talk about the Daily Planner at that time.
Linda?
How is Seesaw free? How does that exist to us for
They
free?
very much want you to buy a paid version, and with the paid version, there is some management that we can do in the background that would make it easier for teachers, make it marginally easier for the kids to create accounts ahead of time. But it actually works really well for the teachers that they sign up, they get their kids logged in because that actually engages them in the act of using the program for the very first time. So thus far, no one has asked us to try to provide more than what the free version is giving us. And again, big fans of free, so as long as they're willing to do it, we'll take it.
David, did you have a question earlier?
You know, Steve, you shared your humble beginnings in teaching. I started teaching when we ran off our stuff on spirit duplicators, which turned out really, really good smelling tests. But we had a very similar program over at West Fargo, and I, you know, being the fossil I am, it was very heart-wrenching for me to get it going. But I did, and it worked very well. The only problem I had is I could get the lessons out to them, I just couldn't get the homework back. Did you ever figure out some way to do that?
Is that for another time?
Sure. Okay. Well, thank you.
Brandy, Brandy?
So I love the Power School. I think it's super awesome, and it works very well if the teachers post the stuff out there. There has been issues with being able to try to go in and find out what my son has due for homework, but then you go out there and it's not posted, or grades being posted out there, updated, you know. So I guess that's the only frustration I have found is when they're not posted. So how are you supposed to know? And
I will concur with that for the simple fact, as a parent, I have also had that frustration of either it's not up to date or a worksheet, for example, a worksheet is not attached, so you can't just download it if your child's sick. But it's the constantly trying to educate staff that this is important, that people are looking. My wife's a teacher as well, and as soon as she gets done with the test, kids are already checking to see if the results are up there. I mean, we've accelerated it considerable to where it's been before. Answer to that is just constantly reminding people just things like this of, I asked my kids about this as well, and they said the biggest frustration for them was teachers didn't keep their daily planner up to date. So especially if you're not very organized, that can cause you problems. So acknowledge, not sure how to fix it, but constantly talking about it.
Thank you.
Diana?
I just want to take this opportunity to say thank you because my kids benefited from Stephen as a teacher, and I was very disappointed when he gave up teaching to come to the district office, but he's been doing some amazing things. This is just one little piece that some of you newer board members have heard about, but a lot of the background development of data-driven stuff is because of him, and I just want to say thank you for both pieces and carry on.
Any other questions or comments? Thanks to both of you. All right, moving on to the Community Outreach and Communications Monitoring Report. Anne Marie, thanks for coming this evening.
You're welcome. Thanks for letting me come out from behind my table over there as well. Well, this is the annual time in the year where the Communications Department gets to address the board and talk about what we do. Communications is concluded in the strategic plan under number 5. And so tonight we'll just talk to you a little bit about things happening in our world. As you know, we have a small but mighty team here for communications at Fargo Public Schools. It's included in your written report as well, and also on the screen there who is on our team. Myself, Anne Marie, Betsy, Madeline, and Kirby are the ones that come together for your team here at Fargo Public Schools, and they are here as well. As noted in your written report you received last Friday, we had a team change this year. Lisa Farnham, who was with us for a number of years, had the opportunity to retire. And so she left us in December, and Madeline joined us. So we welcome Madeline. I'm not sure if everybody has met her or not, but Madeline, if you want to stand up. Madeline joined us in October and had some transition time with Lisa, and so she's been working on news releases and the newsletter and social media and all those fun things that Lisa had worked on beforehand. So we welcome Madeline to our team this year. Thank you. One of the big initiatives this year that we'll talk about will be the redesign and launch of our employee portal. All of our stats that we've talked about in the past are provided to you in the written report, and if you have any questions about that, happy to chat about that. But first, we wanted to talk to you about today is the employee portal. That is included in our operational plan this year to look at that and redesign and launch that, which we did. On March 19th, we relaunched our employee portal. A snapshot of it is on the screen for you. I'm sure that you've seen that as well. This was really a project that was more than a year in the making. We started that process back last school year, looking at what we could do, what we should do, and then put a plan together and worked throughout this school year to really get after that and put on our new employee portal. Our employee portal was created originally in 2008. It was launched on the SharePoint 2007 platform, which was in place until 2012 when it was redesigned and launched on the SharePoint 2010 platform. Our new employee portal is on the Microsoft Office 365 platform. So we changed total platforms. We kind of had to start from scratch. Obviously, we brought a lot of information over, but it is on a new back-end system, which has allowed us to have advanced security and do some things differently to protect our information. Our back-end structure, since we were able to start over and start fresh on how it was created in the back end, it has a new structure in the back end, and things are organized a little bit differently. Because of the new tool that we use now, we can focus our communications as well based upon the employee. We have information that is fed to our program through GP and our technology that we use for HR, so that if need be and how we want to target our communications, we can target down to who you are and what you do here at Fargo Public Schools on what you see. So some people will see things differently on the employee portal than others. So before I go any further, we're gonna have Kirby come up and give you a guided tour and show you a few things on the employee portal. And if you have any questions along the way, feel free to raise your hand, we can get to those. So Kirby?
Okay.
All right, I'll go over to the live portal here. You'll notice that we do everything in the board presentations here in Chrome. And since we started this process last April, I have worked exclusively in Chrome on purpose. A large population of ours, the teachers primarily use Chrome on a daily basis. Google Apps for Education is the platform they use and interact with the students. That's not going away. But how nice it would be to be able to go on to a Microsoft product in Chrome, right? So I work with it exclusively in Chrome. It works 100% in Chrome. Now, some people like Internet Explorer and some people like Edge, and that's okay too, because the whole platform is very compatible. One of our big criteria for the new portal was to be responsive, especially on the first page. So if you have experienced our portal on your smartphone, I'll just pretend I'm on a smartphone, you will see that it automatically is responsive to the device and conforms to the size of that device. And that could be an iPad, it could be multiple different size of devices. I'll just start at the top and then just work through a few highlights for you. The Office 365 platform means that that top bar up there is very interactive for us. So in the top left corner, there's an app launch to quickly get to your email. So once you're logged into the portal from any device in the world, you can get to your email in a couple clicks there. And you can also, I think I'll just make a Word document, and you'll go right into that. And that Word document will be just like a Google Doc where you can work with 50 other people all at the same time. You also have your OneDrive, of course. The employee portal navigation on the top takes you back to the main page at any time, which is really nice from wherever you are at, email or wherever. We did make the top navigation very easy with 4 options: departments, buildings, calendars, and policies. So this was new for us to departmentalize, but we kind of followed the model of the public website and giving everybody a home. And people go to departments because they don't find a lot of that stuff on the front anymore, so that forces them to kind of go into this area, which is good. Because if you need catering, you should probably go to nutrition services for that roll-up platter that you're really dying for. It also gave us some challenges, right? Where did the guest password go? Because there's no more help and info at the top, because that's really information technology. That's the department. So that's where it went. Your school board area is now in a department. The school board area, by the way, as you see here, has your group picture, but the links actually take us out to the public website so we don't duplicate so much work. And then you have another little area there where you work that only you see. So again, who you are determines what you're going to see and experience on the new portal. The buildings are the same in that whatever building you work in is the building that's going to show up for you. Calendars is really nice because it's got all of your calendar information in one place, easy to find, and policies are always nice to find, right? I did want to point out on the new search. This search by default says search everything. So that will be every single thing in the employee portal. But if you drop down the little menu here, from any page, you could search for a person without going to the staff directory. So if I want to search just for people, then I can. So I need to find Anne Marie. And there she is, along with some other people that have Anne in their name. That also would work for the other options on the drop-down, like policies or news articles and so on. The new staff directory has a quick search so that as you start typing, it tries to, do you mean Kirby Engen or Brooklyn Kirby? So I'll do Kirby Engen. Another thing I'll show you with this part is every person is hooked to their Delve platform. So interactive, coming in, bringing in all their information about what they're working on. If I'm working with them, then I'll see the documents we work on together, their phone number, their email, and all of that. The news has brought on new life for us in that it has a nice rotator headline news function, as well as the news articles that drop down here. Links for me then personalizes it to who you are. Now, I'm the manager of the entire thing, so I get all of them. Most people have one or two, depending how special they are. The quick button, I wasn't going to be humorous, but I guess it just happens. The quick buttons, of course, used to be our quick launch, but now we have 9 versus probably, I don't know how many, 12 or more before. But the quick buttons are the things that most people would do on a daily basis. And then we have an area for some special announcements, like, where is my email? It's not a button. That's because it's fully interactive at all times for Office 365 right up here, along with your other programs. So we're trying to, instead of giving everything, kind of training at the same time. And then one thing that we did when we launched the new portal, because this was a big change, is I had the guided tour, which is 5 minutes exactly, with a lot of the things I'm telling you right now. We also provided a quick find guide so that, oh, I used to be able to find the guest password. So this is on the left, top list of things that people would try to find, and then where is it on the new one? Okay. And then one more thing we did is we provided a help button. So this button, in one click then, with one simple question, what can we help you with? And this goes directly to me because I did put everything away in the new portal, so I should know where it is, right? And that is a big advantage, too, to starting with a new system. I actually did know where every single thing went. So with this, I try to reply immediately if I can, Saturdays, Sundays, because I don't want people to get frustrated. So for a while, we'll be doing this one. And then I think I'll just have it point to that quick guide. That's what I'm thinking. And then at the bottom, we have our footer that just has some things like the public website, the journey, and so on. So do you have any questions?
John?
I don't have any questions, except I do want to say that this is really nice. I really like being able to use this on my iPhone, so it's you guys did a really good job. Thank you.
We worked with a local consulting firm on the design. This is not SharePoint, if any of you know SharePoint. SharePoint does not look this pretty. And we just wanted to be friendly. We went through the whole thing with the public side, and you'll notice it does look a little bit like the public side, but not too much. Once you jump off of here, by the way, you go to work. So once we need to go to human resources, oh yeah, this looks a little bit more like SharePoint. A lot of workflows, a lot of electronic work getting done, saving a lot of paper and time in the back end of the whole thing. Okay, I'll switch it back here.
Anyone else have any questions or comments?
There was a team of people that worked on this process that helped guide and shape the employee portal redesign and getting people together and how we wanted have it structured. So I want to thank all of those people that worked on it, but also a big thanks to Kirby because he did a majority of the heavy lifting. He spent a lot of time transitioning all of that information that we had before onto this new system because we did have to move it over. Some things we left behind, but most of it came over as well. So do want to thank Kirby for all of his work because he did a majority of the work as well.
John?
I do have a question. I was just thinking about how I use this outside of board work. And one of the really amazing features that Kirby mentioned was being able to share documents and collaborate on them. Is there any guidance for us as publicly elected officials about using or not using that feature?
They're all being saved.
And the portal itself should not allow you to share with a public person at all.
But if I collaborate with Jim on a
yes.
document, and then Brandy on a document, and then Rebecca on a document,
Right.
are we conducting business outside of open meetings rules?
Well, that question's up to you guys. I did want to say what our part would be, though. We are 100% secure, and our portal will be and always has been intranet. So we don't allow any outside entities in, no guest access, because we want it to be that 100% private. If we have to have a colleague out in Bismarck, we create a login, it's temporary and it's gone again, that type of thing.
John, Dr. Schatz could address this.
Well, I would just caution you against doing that because, you know, as we evolve with communications, yeah, you have to be really careful about whether or not you start to do collaborative type of work on a platform that would be perceived as non-public. And therefore your transparency issues and your open records issues would come forward. So I would say that's not an appropriate place to go do that work. Yeah.
Great feature, but good question and good advice. Thank you. Anne Marie?
That's all we had for you, unless you have any other questions about the data report we provided you in advance.
Thank you very much for your time this evening and for putting all this together. Great work. All right, as noted earlier, we moved 8, the possible executive session, up after the staff report. So we're finished with our staff reports now, and I would entertain a motion at this time.
President Knudsen, I move that we enter executive session for the purpose of negotiation strategy as permitted under North Dakota Century Code, Section 44-04-19.1.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying yes. Yes. Opposed? Okay. All right, motion passes. So we will ask the audience members, please, to leave. And we'll clear the room. We'll take I don't even think we need to take much of a break, do we? Okay.
Call our regular meeting back into session. We are at the consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. On to the business. First item of business is the approval of calendar for the 2019-20 year. Brandy?
Yes, we went through on the calendar committee and we had some good talk, and it looks like it is ready for all of us to approve it. So I'm making a motion to approve our calendar for the 2019-20 season.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Christie?
David?
Oh, sorry.
Now, there wasn't a week-long spring break this year, right? Was there?
For this year, no.
I thought we alternated, so every other year we had a week-long spring break.
We do.
Okay, is there one here that I'm missing?
18-19 would have one, 19-20 would not.
Correct.
Oh, okay. Never mind, I'm looking at the wrong side. Thank you.
Okay. Dinah?
I just had, I guess, maybe a little bit of a comment that I know it's the year not to have a week, but I noticed that the days are quite different in some ways than they have been in the past. And I didn't really need a long answer, but just wondered why some significant changes.
Go ahead, Bob.
Like was stated, I think there were some very good conversations about where different breaks should happen. The other thing that impacts this calendar is when some of our non-negotiable days are, the days that we have to have off according to statute, the days that we must be out because of our own contract, and then how do you put together either a full week, at least a 3-day week when it comes to some of those different pieces. One of those examples would be as you look into October, the 2 days that are there, the 17th and 18th. That is designed as a professional development conference from the Department of Public Instruction. And then the team talked about, well, in the past, we've had a PD day in September, and sometimes that was just too early in the school year. Staff wanted more time to be in their classroom, more time to get some of the foundation set. That's why we moved that one into October to follow that other day. That also then gives family a longer break at that time period. The way the calendar was developed, you'll notice in January, we come back for a total of 6 days after the holiday, and that was to allow for staff to do some review and then high school students to be able to take their finals at the end of the semester. Contractually, we said we needed the professional practice time right after that, so that's why that day is designed on the January 10th. Then as we get further into the days around February, typically the 17th, which is the Martin Luther King holiday, has been a professional development day. It was just determined that since we're not going to have a week-long spring break, we would do smaller breaks. And this gave us the opportunity to be off on that holiday, extend it with a professional development day, so families got the opportunity for a 4-day week there. Then in March, we had another small 4-day weekend there, again, because it's the off year. We also looked at that time period because that was the time period that had the fewest co-curricular activities. So it would impact the fewest number of students and athletes and families when we looked at that. And then as we looked at where the other holidays are required in April and May, we had no control over that, but we did have control over the snow days or the makeup days. We put one near the holiday to try to extend that period in April, and the other one we wanted to push as far back into the school year as possible, just in case we needed to use a second snow day. So those are some of the conversations that we had. They were great conversations, and it was nice that the group came to consensus to move this forward.
Thank you.
Any other questions, John?
Could you remind me of the composition of the committee that put this together?
There were 22 members. We had 4 teachers, 6 parents, 4 principals, 1 support staff, 3 district office individuals, 3 students, and then a school board member.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Anything further? Okay, we'd like to call the roll.
Ani,
Yes.
Goldenberg,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Paulson,
Yes.
Rodenbiker,
Yes.
Ulrich.
Yes. Motion carries. Next up is policy monitoring. We monitored EL5 staff compensation and EL6 staff treatment, and I'm looking for a motion to approve.
I move that we approve EL5 staff compensation and EL6 staff treatment as recorded.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Would you call the roll, please?
Rodenbiker,
Yes.
Ani,
Yes.
Goldenberg,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Paulson,
Yes.
Ulrich.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Up next would be board reports, and in light of the time that we've spent tonight in executive session, I would ask that each of you review the NSBA sharing that was sent out. And for those of you that weren't there, feel free to take a look through those. There was some really interesting information that went through it. And we'll also tonight skip past on the committee and liaison and correspondence reports. But do you have a president's report, Anne Marie? Okay. We'll pass this out. Just as a reminder, governance meeting is on Thursday morning at 7:30 a.m. May 1st, eggs and issue. Chamber Choice Awards at noon on the 11th. May 24th, GED graduation at Agassiz. And then June 1st is Woodrow Wilson's graduation. June 3rd would be the North, South, and Davies graduations. And we need to get rolling and start bringing in some prizes and giveaways for the staff picnic. Jim has not been hounding us, but somebody needs to, so that's my job tonight. So get on it, because that will be the day where we're flipping burgers on August 1st. August 21st is set for the all-staff opening event. Hard to think that that's not that far away, that we're getting done with this school season, and the next one will be upon us. October will be our NDSBA law seminar and the convention, and then we do have homework for next time, board outside liaison assignments, and the visit forms are due on May 2nd. Anything else for the good of the order? If not, meeting adjourned.